Alright, hey guys, Mitch here with the AudioDabbler YouTube channel, and today I'm going to take a look at Beatmaker 3, and just going to start a new session, and I just kind of want to do an overview. I'm having trouble doing an overview because there's so much to it, but I'm just going to get a general knowledge of how everything works, how everything's going, and then I'll go into more in-depth stuff. So for the sake of this video, I have to change my output to 3 and 4, and so I'm just going to send output from bank A over to aux 1, and then aux 1's output is 3 and 4, which corresponds to my iConnect Audio 4 Plus, which I have the cables running into my Zoom where I'm recording the audio. That way you get the best quality audio that I can possibly give you from this. So anyway, so you've got banks, and you have up to 8 banks, A through H. Each of these banks have 128 pads, and so essentially each of these pads can have 128 individual samples. You can layer the samples, and so you could create a very intricate layered instrument just on pad A, and then you go to bank B, load up some drum samples, C, you know, all this stuff, and so you got 8 of those, and that's a lot. That's a whole lot of sampling, a lot more than my 16 gig iPad can handle. But anyway, and so that's kind of that overview. Over here on the side you have your velocity, and so whatever pad you have selected, you can play it based on the trigger amount this way, which is nice if you're playing and you don't have a MIDI controller. It's velocity sensitivity. You can do some velocity sensitive stuff. You can do some rolls, and the rolls are down here at the bottom. And the nice thing is, it's the little things in this app I think that really make it, is I can click on the little down arrow, and if I didn't want 1/32, I could change that to 1/64. I could change it to 1/64 triplets. And so that's really, really nice. It's all the little small things that just make this app work very well. You do have a 64 pad kind of layout as well that you can gives you more of the kind of the push, Ableton push controller type style. And to you, if you are watching, I would like to see a grid layout that would simulate the layout of a guitar. So if you could do that, that would be pretty awesome. But anyway, so let's go back to the 16 pads, more traditional. And you can select the different pads over here, or different banks up at the top. Okay, so now the next little section is your sampler section, and this is where you're going to actually get in and the bread and butter, and you're going to load in the samples. And so you could load in an AU, inter-app audio, or audio bus. And so if I wanted to load in a Poison 202, I can show the plug-in, and then I can play the plug-in. And then I can sample right here. So I got a threshold set, and so I could start. I hit the start button, and it's waiting. Okay, and then I can sample. Okay, and so now on this pad, there's the little sample that I made. Okay, so it's really, really easy to sample, and then you can go in and you can, you know, you can pitch it. I'll go more into depth on this later on, but I just wanted to show you a quick example of that. If I wanted to go to pad 2, I can hit the browse, and that'll bring up our sample library. And then, you know, if you wanted to load in, import your own, what I might do is come over here, go to samples, maybe a new folder, let's call this test. Okay, and if I go out and I go to the samples, was assuming I'd have a test folder. Let's see, can I? Let me try this. Try it on the fly, right? Let's see. Let's go to samples, drum kit samples, and let's just load in that one. Import it into that directory. I don't see it anywhere. That was STE31, so it's there, but it's not showing underneath this. Okay, that's kind of weird. I have to play with that a little more. Maybe it might be a bug, I'm not for sure. But anyway, you can load up samples, and so I could drag that in, and there's the sample. You know, I could go in and I could edit the bounds. And if I really want to get in and edit, I can hit the edit button. I can zoom in, trim it exactly where I want it. I could trim. Okay, now it's trimmed. Alright, now I can process it if I wanted to normalize it, fade it in, stretch and pitch, reverse it, turn it to stereo to mono. Okay, and save sample in. I can save it in the same directory, and now I can save this as kind of Tom1, and then there we go. So it's as simple as that. And there's a whole lot of other stuff. You can do filters, you can modulate things, plugins, you can add different layer effects. I would like to see a few more layer effects, or maybe even, I don't know, if adding in AU effects would be too much resource heavy or whatever, because you can do it per pad and it could probably get kind of crazy. But anyway, so that's kind of that. You can you've got your MIDI setup over here. Anywhere you see the 3 dots is usually another option. You can save the bank, you can rename it, you can do the MIDI setup where you can set specific ports, you can adjust the volume, choke groups, you can link it. Not exactly sure what that is. I'll have to look and look that up or play with it and see. And you have your samples if you're doing multiple samples. And so if you want to do multiple samples, we go over here to the mapping. Is the easiest way I found to do it. Go over here to the mapping section, and then I can drag in a different sample. Okay, and so now you can see that I have 2 samples, and then I can easily drag that across. So now I have 2 samples on that one pad. And then whenever I'm in the sampler section, whichever one I have selected is the one I would be essentially editing. Where am I at? Page 2. There we go. And so you have complete control over everything. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people have a lot of fun with multi-layer samples. Okay. Next section will be the song mode, and under the song mode is where you would do your basic layout of how you want this arrangement to go. Kind of works. I kind of like it the way it works a little bit in Ableton Live. I haven't played with this a whole bunch. I've just been kind of learning the things you can do, but I haven't actually been doing. But if I double click here, and then I do kind of click and hold on that scene, I can create a new pattern, and I can create multiple patterns. And then inside of that pattern, if I click on the pattern, this corresponds to that pattern 1 under Paint A. Okay. And so I can go here, and I can program in, and I can play. But what if I want to play that in a tonal section? So I got pad 1 selected. I go over here to the keyboard, and now I can do it tonally. So that's nice, and then you just get out of that, or you can close that out. Go back to the song mode, and go back to the pattern. Down here at the bottom, you can change your duration. You can select notes if you want to, and then over here at the side, oops, you can delete, or you can just add back. This little bracket with the long icon, or the long kind of note, you can select and drag, and it'll drag it to the appropriate size that you want. Or if you're on the one that has the double, it will paint, which that's really good for quick and easy hi-hats. Now it'll paint based on the grid up here at the top. You got the bars, and you can set these to auto, so the more you zoom in, the smaller the grid, the more you zoom out, the bigger the grid, or you can just have it how you want it, like that, at a more of a fixed velocity. So that's really cool. The editing is super quick and easy. You just click on one, I can drag it down, click on one, I can drag it down. So really simple and easy like that. And so what's cool is if I click up here at the top, I'm back on pattern 1, bank A, and then I can drag this pattern over. So if I wanted that, and then I wanted this, and then this. So that's a really easy way to build up some little quick MIDI patterns inside the banks, and then be able to drag them over into the arrangement view. And if I click on B, I could create more patterns. If I click on C, I could create more patterns. And so if A was, say, your drums, you could have 5 or 6 different drum patterns, and then quickly and easily just drag them over and create your arrangement. And then you could easily switch to B, drag them over, and I want that moving. Delete. There we go. And just arrange it however you want to, similar to how Beatmaker 2 sort of tried to do it, but they've definitely hit the nail on the head, I think, with this section right here. Okay, and then the same thing with the scenes. You can kind of play the scenes a little bit Ableton Live style. I haven't necessarily messed with it, so I don't know how responsive it is. It's kind of reversed from how Ableton is, because Ableton is kind of a top-down approach, and things based on vertically are in the same category, whereas this is more horizontally in the same category. And so if I wanted to play pattern 2, now it's playing pattern 2. I'm assuming if I wanted to stop it, or maybe I have to stop it here. There. So I haven't messed with this too much, but it's super, looks like it would be loads of fun. And whatever pattern you're selected on, if you click pattern, is the one you'll be editing. And then you have your main mixer. You got just your volumes. You got your auxiliary, and then on these auxiliaries you can add effects. And this right here is a bunch of built-in effects, or you can do AU effects. You can add overdrive and reverb, and then you can send it. But the cool thing is you can add multiple ones. And so if I go back up here, hello, hey, how'd you find that out? Oh. Yeah. Okay. Okie dokie. Oh. What was that working? I love you too. Bye bye. Bye bye. Alright, where was I? Still recording. Alright, where was I? Okay. So you got your different I was talking about effects. So let's go back into effects. And then so I can where was it at? So where could I add in? I know I just did this the other day. Okay, down here at the bottom I can add another aux track, and so now I have 3 aux tracks. 4, 5. Okay, so you got a lot of effect sends, which is good for resources because you could set, I know it's best practice, especially if you're trying to save resources, to send any time delay effects. If you could send those to an aux track and then just send the different things to it, it's a lot more resource friendly. But if you need to view all the sends down here at the bottom, click on all the sends, and then you have all the sends that you can send to, and you can play with that how you will. You can add tracks on here as well. Take my input output off. You got your panning, individual volumes, and if you want to go in and show pads, I don't have any pads in there, but in bank A I have pads, and so now it's going to show these two, and so I can individually mix the different pads inside each of the banks and send each of the pads to a different aux effect through this section right here under bank A, and then I can just show pads right there. So if I had if that had more banks in it or more pads, then it would show, you know, all 16 or all 128 pads, and then you could individually mix those. So that'd be really good for mixing drums and getting the, you know, drum samples, you know, just really spot on with that, because you can mix those. You got some macro knobs that I will go over in another video, but they're pretty cool, and you got some XY pads that you can do. Basically, you can map them to things. So I guess I'll do that real quick. So let me go back up to pad A. Let me go to the sample here. I got plugins. Just kind of show you how much that they thought about this. So it says show AU knobs. Okay, and so these are some AU knobs. Now I can select the knobs that I want. So if I wanted this bend range, then now that becomes the bend range. Okay, so now I can kind of double click that, and my macro control, I can click on macro control, and now I can assign that to one of those macro controls. Okay, so that's cool. And so then from there, what I can do is I go to the MIDI, and I can go to macro 1 all the way up to 16, and I can set those controls. And what's nice about that is, just like in the previous video, the little quick tip where I showed you how to map out the different pads for on channel 2, and it'll be based on what bank you're selected or what on the screen. That's the way the macro knobs will work as well, similar to that. So you'll be able to do things like that. And then one last thing, all of these, pretty much any knob can be modulated. And there's a lot of things that can be modulated. Just double click on it and see. You can assign it to a macro control, or you can assign it to modulate, and then MIDI, note velocity, okay, so if I go right here to like the tuning, I can modulate to an envelope, an LFO, a step modulator, some sort of random thing, or MIDI. So that's that. I think I've kind of covered kind of general overview of everything. You got your play stop. One thing is if you click on if you got this play in, you're not going to hear it because it's going out. You're not hearing the metronome because it's obviously going out channels 1 and 2, and I don't seem to have any control over where the metronome is going. Maybe if I double click, global swing, tap tempo. Maybe if I could send the metronome out aux 3 and 4, or send it out an aux channel, or send it out, that would be kind of nice, but I'm not seeing any way that I can do that here, so that's something else to think about. But anyway, so you can quantize, and you can set automations to record as you're recording too. So as you're twiddling knobs, it'll record those automations. You do have Ableton Link, and I think that's should be about it. I'm running an iPad Air 1 16 gig, and it seems to be running very well. I will I guess I'll end the overview now, and then I'll start just diving into individual parts and maybe try to build up a track as I do that. So thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later.